Junior doctors, of course, are still on strike their second day. We know the drill by now, don't we? Ultimately, what they want is this pay restoration. I think it's back to 2008, which would be something like a 35% pay restoration. I've got to say, this standoff, Alan, it doesn't seem to be coming any further, really, to a resolution. Victoria Atkins, she's basically saying, if you call off this strike, I'll come around the table. The BMA are basically saying, well, we're not going to call off the strike until you give us a credible offer. There's all kinds of accusations being thrown around about whether or not people are taking the doctors' demands seriously, whether or not the doctors are being a little bit too over the top. Where are you on it?
Well, I think there's a few things. Firstly, this is not about saving the NHS. This is a question about pay and terms. The NHS is not a deity. It needs significant reorganisation, get rid of a lot of the fat at the top and its ideological problems. It needs efficiency. I think there's a lot of public sympathy for doctors and junior doctors to get more pay. My personal view is everyone should get more pay. We should get better pay across Britain. In the last 3 decades, we've been sluggish and inefficient. We should allow zombie companies to fail, and doctors should be paid better. However, that requires a plan, that requires organisation, it requires commitment, and it also requires management to be changed and efficiency. If you're a front key worker, you should be supporting that context. However, as well, the unions are often using this as an attempt to attack the government. So you've got these two things going on. There's a question of pay in and its own terms. And then it looks like in the election year coming up, you've got unions that are using this to kind of be very political. And that's a problem as well. And I think the public get weary of that. And frankly, both sides need to get together. We've now got over 7 million people waiting, still as a consequence of lockdown and COVID-only NHS. We've got, and the impacts to social care, which, by the way, none of these people supported their colleagues. When they talk about solidarity, very few of them supported when they challenged the vaccine mandate and all the social care workers that were lost and other peers, nurses and others that were challenged.
I remember it well.
And actually, it's got to be said, Matt Neal, who's one of the key leaders here, tried to, if he's into solidarity, try to have Dr. Asim Malhotra, one of the country's leading cardiologists, penalised by the GMC because he said that he was spreading misinformation. Now, surely the whole point about doctors and science is to have a wide discussion and to collaborate on that. So I'm very concerned that the actual issue of pay and conditions gets lost in a lot of the other arguments about save the NHS and about the question of the government, the Tories and the unions, and the public sector being very ideological.
Kelvin?
Well, the truth about the matter is that they are the highest paid members of the public sector. You start at around about 30-odd thousand and you go up as a, quote, junior doctor, the most ridiculous expression I think I've ever heard, and you go up to kind of senior registrar to make about 100,000.
Yeah, they're not the most, what did you say, the highest paid in the public sector?
Yeah, they are. Well, they are public sector workers. They are treated as such. They have their own pay unit which decides it. So what I find absolutely reprehensible is that, and I heard this argument put forward by somebody the other day, that in fact the whole point about trade unions is to inflict the biggest amount of pain in order to win the day. Now, that's all right, you run a train, and honestly, I commute all the time, and your train doesn't turn up, that's painful, right? When actually you are actually sentencing somebody with either cancer or some hip replacement or some issue to real pain, potentially death, certainly a problem about the pain will continue longer than if the dispute didn't last, I do have a problem. I would ban people in their position from going on strike. And I would say to them, if you don't like it, please all stop working for the NHS. One of the issues is they sign a thing which they're supposed to do no harm, right? Actually, they should sign something saying, I promise you I will do harm. This has been a shocking example, and most of the people involved in it, who are really leaders of it, are actually first-year students. Actually, where else would you start at 30,000 a year? Not many places. I actually do not drop one single tear for this lot, and I would actually clear them all out and say, go and do another job which doesn't involve trying to kill people rather than trying to save people's lives.
Well, I've got to say, I do probably, I have to say, I do dispute that these people are the highest paid public sector workers in this country. I'll dispute on that. But also, you know, if they're sitting here now, they would be saying, well, we don't feel that we're getting a fair pay deal. We don't want to kill anyone, to quote your expression. What we want to do is we want to be able to feel like we can remain in our employment and continue to save lives.
A friend of mine is a British Airways pilot.
Right.
He was telling me, he's about, I think about 55, 57 now. He was saying to me, he said, when I came into the game, he said a senior BOAC pilot would earn more than the Prime Minister kind of stuff. He said, we were right at the top. He said, we have gone down like that. That is what happens. In journalism, for instance, I would hire, say 35 years ago, I'd hire a junior reporter at 22,000 a year. Right? 30 years later, they are still being hired at 22,000 a year. And this is the reality, that things do change. I feel sorry these people feel bad about it. They should have thought about that before they became doctors.
Well, that's exactly the problem, though. We don't pay enough in Britain. We've got a sluggish economy. We need to improve it. But they will. Many have left the public sector.
Good.
And they've gone to the private sector. They've gone to other countries. We have a problem in Britain. Well, it's not good in the sense that...
No, I'm very pleased.
I'm all up for a discussion to have a more European-style health service. Like, if you look at Germany and France, they have private and they have some public provision. But we need to be able to work out ways of training our own citizens, as well as bringing good people in there, to recruit the best and the brightest, not have them just go. And we're the biggest employer with the NHS, and we spend so much money. It's inefficient. We should get it organised. It should be done diligently, not just people throw their hands up and just look at one component of it.
Yeah. And you say it's good if these people leave.
Yeah,
and that's great.
I don't want these people. I do not want these people looking after my mum. I tell you that.
But if you suddenly drop down now and and have a heart attack,
well,
you won't think it's good. If you get to a hospital and there's no junior doctors to treat you.
Michelle, if these people want more money, there's a simple solution, right? What they should do is they should go into the private sector. We should start having private hospitals. Once you work Once you work for a monopoly, and you have a trade union representing you, you are only part of a mass.
Right.
You are not an individual.
All right.
And I am in favour of individuals.
So I'm going to move in to Kelvin Island. So I'm on your island with you now, and I'm going along with your suggestions. So now all these people have quit the NHS, and now this NHS now is literally depleted of doctors.
They're not going to quit. These are great jobs.
Who then cares for the patients then, if everyone in your world has gone?
No, they're not all going to quit. I'm inviting them to quit, and a percentage of them will go. Most of them will stay, and they enjoy their work and actually enjoy their pay. They have got a whole load of lefties have got involved now and actually are putting your parents, my parents, even me, to the sword.
Well, what do you